Who are you, really? When you look in the mirror, do you recognize the person staring back? Each morning, as Socrates urged, we awaken to examine our lives, not just from sleep, but into the theater of our own existence, where the unexamined life waits for our attention. We move through rituals, coffee, breakfast, the hurried steps, each act echoing Descartes' question, what can I know of myself? Who is living this life, and what is the nature of the self behind these motions? We travel crowded streets, yet feel the hush of solitude within, as Kierkegaard wrote, each of us alone before ourselves, searching for meaning in the crowd. We answer the world's demands, but rarely our own, forgetting Nietzsche's call to become who we are, not merely what others expect. We perform, we please, we wear the masks required by the day, Kierkegaard's crowd always watching, while our true self waits in the wings. At night, we return to ourselves, tired, searching for meaning in the glow of a screen, echoing Descartes' solitude as he pondered, I think therefore I am. We drift into dreams, hoping for answers that daylight never brings, as Nietzsche mused on the mysteries that lie beneath consciousness. And so, the cycle repeats, days folding into years, questions left unspoken, as if we fear the Socratic challenge to know ourselves. This is the silent rhythm of existence, echoing in the lives of so many, Kierkegaard's quiet desperation beneath the surface of routine. We are always in motion, always reaching, yet rarely arriving at ourselves. Descartes' search for certainty mirrored in our restless striving. But when do we pause to gaze inward, to meet the eyes behind the mask, as Socrates implored, know thyself? How often do we dare to ask, who am I beneath all this doing? A question at the heart of every philosopher's search. In a world that worships productivity, reflection becomes a radical act. Kierkegaard called it the highest passion of the human being. We collect titles and names, building identities from the outside in, as Nietzsche warned against letting society define our essence. Parent, friend, achiever, dreamer, labels that only hint at the truth, never capturing the full depth of the self within. These roles are chapters, not the whole story. Kierkegaard's self is a relation that relates to itself, always unfolding. They are branches reaching outward, but the roots, those are hidden deep within, as Descartes searched for the foundation of being. But the roots, those are hidden deep within, where Nietzsche believed our true values and strength reside. We tend the branches for the world, but rarely nourish the roots for ourselves, neglecting the inner life Socrates deemed essential. The unseen self waits in quiet rooms, longing to be known. Kierkegaard's single individual yearning for authenticity. The truth is, many of us are strangers to our own reflection. As Nietzsche wrote, become who you are. Sometimes, in the hush of midnight, we glimpse the soul behind the eyes, echoing Descartes' search for the eye that observes. A whisper of longing, a sense that something essential is missing. Kierkegaard called it the sickness unto death, the ache of not being oneself. We meet ourselves in the mirror late at night, stripped of pretense, and wonder, as Socrates did, if we are living in truth. When the world's roles fade, only our weary eyes remain, Descartes' thinking self, alone in the quiet. That ache, that distance is not a flaw, it is the call of your truest self, as Kierkegaard believed. The greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur very quietly in the world. A voice within, waiting to be heard, waiting to be seen, Nietzsche's will to become stirring in the silence. So we fill the silence with noise, the emptiness with endless doing, afraid to face the questions that philosophers have always asked. We chase after meaning, hoping to find ourselves in the next task, the next goal. But as Kierkegaard warned, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. We seek happiness outside, hoping to import it into the quiet chambers of our hearts, forgetting that, as Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. But fulfillment is not a prize to be won. It is a seed that grows within, as Socrates believed, through self-knowledge and care of the soul. It begins quietly, from the inside out, Descartes' cogito, whispering in the stillness. And it starts with the simple, radical act of turning your gaze inward, as every philosopher has done before you. Who waits behind the roles, the one longing to be seen? Kierkegaard called it the self that is willing to be itself. The journey begins when you dare to look in the mirror and not turn away. Socrates' courage to face the truth of oneself, to truly see yourself. This is the first act of courage, the beginning of philosophy, Are you ready to meet the stranger who is you? As Nietzsche asked, what does your conscience say? You shall become the person you are. For there, in that meeting, peace and meaning are born. Kierkegaard's leap into selfhood, the philosopher's reward. The first step is to pause, to listen to the quiet voice within, as all wisdom traditions advise. And in that silence, begin the philosopher's journey and your own. Imagine a man named Leo, a reflection of us all, wandering through the architecture of his own life. Outwardly, he wore the costume of success, polished, admired, untouchable. A prestigious firm, a title that echoed in empty halls, a city apartment perched above the restless world, sharp suits, armor for the daily performance. His life, a portrait painted for others to admire. Yet within, Leo drifted, an actor reciting lines he never wrote, a shadow in someone else's story, applauded for a mask he could not remove. Each morning he donned his disguise, suffocating beneath the weight of silent expectations and the endless hunger for approval that never truly fed him. The emptiness inside him grew quietly, like a shadow at dusk, until on his 35th birthday, surrounded by laughter and friends, he felt a sudden silent revelation. No one truly saw him, and he too was a stranger to himself. A ghost at his own celebration, a wanderer in the landscape of his own life. That moment of panic, was it despair or the first crack in the mask? Sometimes unraveling is the only way to begin again. Sometimes you must lose the self you perform to discover the self you long to become. There comes a night when the world grows quiet, and you are left alone with your thoughts. In that silence, the bravest act is to listen. To turn inward is to step into the unknown, to face the questions that echo in the quiet. Who am I when no one is watching? The journey begins not with answers, but with the willingness to ask, softly, honestly, and without expectation. There is discomfort in solitude, a restlessness that stirs beneath the surface. Yet, in that discomfort, something true begins to emerge. With each word written in the quiet, each step taken alone, you peel back the layers of who you thought you were. The city outside continues its dance, but you walk a different path, one that leads inward toward the heart of your own story. Journaling becomes a lantern in the darkness, illuminating thoughts and feelings tangled and raw. It is not neat, it is not easy, but it is real. In the messiness, you find honesty. In the honesty, you find yourself. Each moment of reflection is a step closer to the truth you seek, even if the truth is simply this: you are a work in progress. The courage to turn inward is the beginning of freedom. And so the journey inward begins, not with certainty, but with an open heart. With every step you discover you are not lost, you are becoming. The inward path is yours alone, and it is enough. The journey has begun. True transformation is rarely sudden. Like a river-shaped stone, it happens quietly over time through countless gentle choices. Each day, Leo made small, mindful decisions, planting seeds of change in the soil of his life. He returned to watercolors, letting colors blend and flow, painting not for praise but for the joy of creation itself. He practiced mindfulness, learning to sit with his thoughts as one sits beneath a tree, rooted, present, and open. In the quiet, he discovered that calm is not the absence of chaos, but the ability to find stillness within it. He spoke honestly with those he loved, allowing his true self to be seen, like sunlight breaking through clouds. For the first time, his words carried the weight and warmth of honesty. He built relationships rooted in authenticity, not appearances, like trees growing strong beneath the surface. Leo realized his true self was a mosaic, formed from passions, values, and quiet strengths. He did not discard his skills, he let them flow in new directions, like a river finding its course. By giving his talents to causes that mattered, he found purpose that nourished him from within. He wove together his past and present, creating a future that felt real and alive. The more he honored his inner voice, the more vibrant his world became. Self-discovery, he learned, is not a destination, but a daily tending, like a gardener nurturing a living garden. And every day, Leo chose to show up as himself, imperfect, growing, and real. To live authentically is to step beyond the scripts written for us, to shed the costumes of expectation, and meet ourselves in the quiet of our own being. It is a liberation, a gentle unbinding, from the invisible threads that pull us toward approval, achievement, and applause. In this freedom, we discover the joy of presence, the simple act of being, of breathing, of noticing the world as it unfolds. We find meaning not in grand gestures, but in the brushstroke of a painting, the laughter shared with a friend, the warmth of sunlight on our skin. The philosopher Kierkegaard wrote that to be oneself is the greatest accomplishment. Yet it is also the simplest, requiring only honesty and courage. When we release the fear of judgment, we make space for quiet confidence to grow, rooted in our own truth. Our relationships deepen, not because we perform, but because we are present, truly listening, truly laughing, truly living. In these moments, we are no longer ghosts drifting through our days, but souls awake to the wonder of existence. To be fully present is to inhabit our own life, to walk barefoot on the earth of our experience. So pause just for a moment. Ask yourself, who am I when no one is watching? Begin with a breath, a step, a small act of presence. These are the sacred beginnings of an authentic life. The journey is not outward but inward, toward the self that has always been waiting to be known. Your true self is not a destination, but a companion on the path. Will you walk with them?